This is another video to my Sarah series, and this topic is a topic that was suggested by my friend Jenny. Now, she wanted me to discuss phones, technology, our way of communication, and how this world has become a little bit too electronic. This isn't difficult for me to talk about because I've thought a lot about this. First, I want to say, especially as a millennial, that technology is not an enemy. It can be destructive and distracting and can be a really poor substitute for face-to-face interaction, but technology can also be an easy way to stay connected with long-distance friends and family. It's convenient and can reach a lot of people at one time. If you look at my Facebook page, I've got over 1,000 friends, well over that, and most of them are long-distance friends and family from high school and college. And with that in mind, I want to share some etiquette with technology so we don't lean too far either way. I'm not necessarily wanting this to be some informative lesson, not on its own. I genuinely want to reach the emotion part of this because this can really bother more people than you might think. And I'm one of those people that, like with my husband, he is always checking Facebook. He's probably the first to like your post. Some of you, if you're watching this, some of you know him, and he's the first to respond to things. And he literally goes through every update. He'll refresh the page and look for the new ones when they pop up. Like it's different for me. Like he'll look at it every time an update comes, but for me, every other day or two, I'll go through all of my updates and then I'll put it away and then I'll do it again in a few days because it's hard for me to do it all the time. But the first thing I want to talk about is, first of all, if you're with people having a meal or watching a movie or discussing important things, those are 3 general areas that I would say put the phone away. I think that's pretty straightforward, but you see people at restaurants on their phones. Sometimes they don't even talk while they're on the phones with each other. In a movie, you still see people take out their cell phones when they say not to. It's not just a rude thing. It's they're not even paying attention, really, and I don't think you can fully engage with the people or the environment when you're on your phone. That's just a fact. In fact, it's kind of the same with driving. I've seen people like literally scrolling Facebook while they're going 65 miles an hour on the freeway. And, you know, there was a test, I think it was on Mythbusters or something. I barely watched the show, but there were a couple episodes I had seen, I think in some of my ASU classes actually, and they were having this guy drive, but there were like a lot of cones and there was, you know, things that you would normally see like in a construction area, but way more. Like it was super overdone. And he was trying to text while he drove, and he like hit all the cones. And I know that people can, you know, check their phones at stop lights and things, and even maybe while they're going slower on the road they can do it. But just because you can doesn't mean that you're still 100% alert to the road. So I don't think that you can give 100% to 2 or 3 different things. You have to focus one at a time. And it's hard because we're getting emails on our phone. Music is on our phone. We need to call and text people. Facebook is blowing up. I mean, there's so much on the phone, so sometimes it's better to just turn it on silent or to turn it off. But if you are expecting an important call, especially if you have kids and they need to contact you, I understand. Put it on vibrate, keep it near you, but I wouldn't necessarily be doing this for 35 minutes when you're with other people. I would check it, put it down. I mean, that is completely appropriate. Also, this is even more important to me as someone who wants to have children and someone who's been around children for several years in the mix, teaching children and interacting with their parents and seeing them in the grocery stores. If you're with your children on errands, even the boring errands that you think are mundane, don't just hand your child your phone to keep them quietly playing games. Maybe for a few minutes. Maybe if you have to stop at the restroom at the store, but I would hope that you don't leave your child just in the cart in a public grocery store. But I know it's kind of cliche, but everything in moderation is pretty much acceptable. So, like, if you give your child the phone for a few minutes, not a big deal. But I can't think of a single instance that it's better not to interact with people face to face. If you're walking through a grocery store, you might be used to buying your fruits and veggies and, all the types of foods and stuff, and your child eats it, and they're kind of used to the routine, but talk to them about the colors you see and the produce and the hybrids of fruits you see. I mean, even in elementary schools, they're giving them these interesting fruits that are like an apple and a pear. I don't know what kinds. I'm just guessing that's one of them. And I don't remember all their names, but if you know the names, if you can read the names, tell them. Even if they're 1, 2, 3 years old, they might not be able to articulate the words back. They might not, understand when you talk about how you're budgeting, how much each thing costs, but just talking to them engages your child. And in fact, when they get to first, second, third grade and higher, when they're learning math and they're learning their colors in preschool and things, they're going to understand it better. They would have heard those words from you all the time. And really, do you want your child to have this memory of you all the time? Like, all the time? I mean, there are some people who are on their phones so much, and they get on the computer and their child wants to play with them. I've heard of people, I won't name names, I don't even have a personal relationship with them. It's kind of like third party, but people who have young children and they just go on the computer for hours, literally hours, and their child wants to play with them. After hours, your child needs to eat, and I don't know, it's just, there is a line, and I think some people cross it. I'm not saying you can never be on the computer, you can never be on your phone around your kids. In fact, because it's so much a part of today, you'll probably want your child to know how to use these things, even though they're born out of the womb knowing how to use them nowadays. And you'll want them to kind of see what you're doing. You could still explain how Facebook works and stuff, obviously with discretion and things. I mean, everything is a learning experience. But I think that we can all say that just hanging out with people without our technology is kind of a relief sometimes. I can't wait to put this phone down when I get home. I have all my calendars in here, and I'm always on it to check my itinerary for each day and the week. I'm always putting things in there. But when my husband comes home from work, or if we're hanging out with people, it's almost always just in my purse, and I'll check it like sometimes for the time if I don't have a watch on, or to see if someone important had texted or emailed me. But I'm really not on it that much. Sometimes when we're driving, I'm on it a lot, which that could be limited too. Sometimes car rides are the best way to talk with the one who's driving or the one who's in your passenger seat, because it's usually just two people, and you can really talk about a lot on car drives. I don't know about you, but for me and my husband, that's true. So I would just say there's always a time and place. I mean, especially if your child is like, if they're trying to knock your phone out of your hand, or I don't know, if they're not talking as much to you, I would try to limit it and just see if you can be okay without your phone just a little bit longer. Basically, I'd only take your phone out if you're alone and or you're not in an important situation. I really only use my phone when I wake up to check like emails and the updates that popped up in the night, and right before bed. Sometimes my husband and I have a time right before bed where we scroll Facebook and Instagram and stuff just a little bit, maybe for 20 minutes, and then we go to bed. However, I would say someone at the Global Leadership Summit, if you know about what that is, talked about how looking at phones and tablets with the blue light makes you feel more alert, like you're waking up. I don't remember all of the details, but let's just say that it's not necessarily the best thing to do right before you go to sleep. Technology is a part of life, and honestly, it always will be, but what would happen if all the cell phones, all electronics ceased to work? I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but something like that logically could happen. It seems illogical, it seems kind of far-fetched, but it's still possible. And wouldn't you think it'd be better, off balancing? Wouldn't you be better off if you minimally used technology now? So if that happened, you'd be a little bit more prepared. You'd be okay interacting with people instead of completely lost. I think that you don't have to prepare for this imaginary scenario to happen decades from now, but like I said earlier, I think people want your interaction face to face without your phone. Imagine your children when they become teenagers, or if they are teenagers, why they're having a hard time putting them down. They might see you doing the same thing. Or not. Maybe you're very good about that and they see their friends doing it. Either way, it's kind of a learning experience. No matter how much or how little you use your phones and tablets and computers, if it's a teaching experience and you teach them that people want to spend time with just them too, then I think we'll be okay. If you're on the phone more than you interact with people, actually talking and doing things, that's when it's too much. That's all. Heck, even ask people around you when they think it's appropriate to be on the phone. If you're with a group of friends eating a meal, maybe you're okay with checking your phones for a few minutes before the meal is done, and maybe your child can play a game at the grocery store as you choose between bananas and plantains. But always ask yourself, how will this affect my loved one if I choose to put the phone away just a little bit longer? If you want clarification, have a question, or have a video request, please comment below or message me privately. I know the topic I'll be talking about next time, and that has to do with the survey a lot of you took. I'm not going to say anything else about it because I still have to formulate some of my thoughts, but probably within the next month for sure I'll be putting out another video. So hopefully you're keeping track with my Sarahdime series, and I look forward to next time.